Alright, next on our list we have our brush tool group, which is the 9th tool group from the top of the toolbar, shortcut B. I'm going to go ahead and select that. What the paintbrush does, as you might guess, is it allows you to color over the top of your image or canvas by clicking, holding, and dragging around where you want to draw. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. You can see that over here at the bottom of your toolbar, it shows your currently selected color, which you can change. You can also come up here to your color or swatches, windows, and change it that way. I'm going to grab this light green. Cool. Up here in our tool options, you'll see that there's a lot of them. Here you can save tool presets. So if you're liking a brush that you're using, you can save it. I don't have any, as you can see. Next, we have our size or hardness and a bunch of different brushes to choose from. Size is pretty self-explanatory. It makes your brush bigger and smaller. Hardness, on the other hand, basically determines how quickly your brush fades in opacity from the center. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Out here, let me turn the size up a little bit. So you'll notice that at the center of the stroke, it's full opacity. You can't see through it at all, but as we move from the center, it gradually blurs and you can see the background behind it. If we were to turn our hardness up to 100%, however, the entire stroke would be full opacity. Go ahead and undo that. Turn the hardness back down to 0. The blending modes basically tell the brush how to interact with the layers beneath it. I'm not going to get into it right now because we cover it later in the course. Opacity is pretty self-explanatory. It determines how opaque your strokes are. So low opacity, you're going to be able to see through. High opacity, you will not. Flow is kind of a strange one. It basically determines how fast the layers of your strokes build up to full opacity. So if we had a really low flow, you would have to drag over the same spot several times before you reach full opacity. With a high flow, it's almost full opacity. Well, it is full opacity with a single stroke. Go ahead and get rid of those. Smoothing is also kind of a strange one. It basically determines how far behind your mouse clicks your stroke follows. So if the smoothing is really low, then the stroke follows directly under where you're clicking and dragging. But if it's really high, the stroke will lag behind your mouse. Undo those. Angle changes the angle of your brush depending on what brush you're using. It won't really change circular brushes too much. Change back to 0. This setting right here is if you're working on a tablet with a pen, which I am not, so we're going to skip it. And then Symmetry lets you draw symmetrically, as you might guess. So if we turn that on and then paint on one side, it will automatically paint on the other. And there's some pretty cool settings under here. I like using the mandala. With high counts, you can get pretty cool effects this way. I'm just going to show you guys. This can be a really fun one. Makes it easy to draw intricate patterns very quickly. Go ahead, delete those, turn Symmetry off, and that does it for our brush tool. Next, we have our pencil tool, which is incredibly similar to the brush tool. The main difference is that no matter what brush you use, no matter what your hardness is set to, the actual hardness will be 100%. And therefore, the strokes will not fade in opacity towards the edges. And you can actually see up here, hardness is set to 0, but the brush is behaving as if it's set to 100. Then we have our color replacement tool, which basically lets you overlay the color that you have selected onto the existing information without getting rid of it, almost as if you were painting with your normal brush tool at a lower opacity. And I'll just kind of show you guys. So I have the green selected, and we're just kind of painting everything green without losing all of its structural tonal information. Go ahead and undo those. And last up, we have our mixer brush tool, which sort of grabs colors as you paint and blends them together, almost as if you were using oil paint. And that does it for our brush tool group.